The next few days went without event. Taylor and Tricia stayed together all the time now. They all waited as the vaults opened. Nathan and Austin came out, along with the others, their new power in place. Austin burst into tears when he saw Tricia. "Are you all right?" he asked as he hugged her. "Yeah, I told you you would do great," she said, smiling. Nathan rubbed his eyes at the two. "I take it something happened?" Nathan asked. Nothing we couldn't handle," Taylor said, nodding to Josh. Nathan hugged everyone. He seemed more balanced now, fitting into his power a lot better than he had before. Tricia and Taylor explained what had happened. Nathan boiled, realizing he had been completely out of the rescue. He tucked away a little piece of anger for the Nightshade. The opportunity to release that anger would come sooner than he thought. They spent the day relaxing and catching up. Taylor and Tricia still joined at the hip. You would think that she would be a bit more shaken than she was, but having Taylor around, she realized that she felt more alive than she ever had, and probably would go on many adventures. The night set in. Unlike the rest of them, Ashley displayed no nerves at all. Taylor went with a convert and Tricia. Ashley went with Nathan and Austin and Josh and Jenny. Taylor thought about going with her for a moment, but realized that she would be well and fanatically protected. Taylor already had a great amount of friendship and love from the group. However, it was not Taylor but Ashley who had led them out of the pain that they were in, kept their dignity in place, and let them live their lives with some normalcy. Ashley had always had the vision and the belief that they could beat the bloodlust. Taylor had only brought the method. They all wanted to protect her. They went out, and nothing outside of the plan happened. All the converts, including Ashley, were safe in their vaults, and after the whole affair, Taylor let out a sigh of relief. He hoped he would never have to deal with the conversion on this scale again. Taylor, Tricia, Nathan, Austin, and Josh sat by the pool, looking at the sky, wishing for the stars. "What's the next step?" Austin asked. "I think Ashley has a pretty good idea of what's coming," Taylor said. "War," Tricia said. They all fell silent at the word. However, each of them knew she was right. It was time to take a stand against the Nightshade. They spent a few moments thinking about what that declaration meant. They tried to speak of lighter things. Through the 3 days that Ashley was fighting the bloodlust, the mansion was alive with talk of the impending fight. They spoke of the best ways to fight. Some wanted to stay on the outskirts, and others preferring a straight fight, confident in their new abilities. Taylor held back from these conversations. Ashley knew most about what needed to be done. She had proved to them a great talent for strategy, along with leadership. Until that time lock clicked open, everything was just speculation. Of course, speculation was rampant in every conversation around the mansion. Taylor and Tricia did their best to relax. They were laying in bed after making love again when she turned to him. "I feel guilty," Tricia sighed. "Why?" Taylor asked. "Just so much coming up, but all I want to do is lay around with you," Tricia said, cuddling into him. "Everything in me says that we're just starting this whole thing. Even our little war with the Nightshade will only be the first of many fights. We're going to have to steal a minute whenever we can," Taylor said, kissing her on the forehead. "You're right. You know, that could get pretty annoying after a while," she joked with him. Taylor smiled down at her. "I think you're just going to have to get used to it," Taylor said, laughing. She smacked him in the chest. "Ow! Quit it!" Taylor said in mock pain. "You may be a super powerful vampire, Taylor, but I think I can kick your ass. I'm still a woman after all." Tricia smiled and cuddled back into him. They spent the rest of the day in bed, exploring each other's minds and bodies. That evening they took a shower together after getting dressed and emerged and met the others in the shelter. Ashley had had a rough conversion, but her lock clicked. When Ashley emerged, an overwhelming feeling of caring and love fell over the room. Taylor felt a power that was unique from the others he had met so far, but in many ways it was more powerful as well. Tricia was the first to hug her, although she had to go around the whole room. After they exchanged greetings and embraces, they all gathered in the great room of the mansion. Ashley stood up and began to speak. "We have taken our first steps. although we hit some snares. Ashley paused. It has proved what I have always known. Together we are unstoppable. We will win this fight, but now it's gonna get serious. Tonight we return to Club V, and the Nightshade will know tonight that they are no longer the only power here, Ashley stated. She took a moment and looked at everyone in the group. I don't want to give the impression that this will be easy. The Nightshade outnumber us, but we are the only ones that can challenge him. For the future of our kind, we must fight now, Ashley said. We are ready, Austin said. I don't think any of us are ready, but we no longer have the time. We must act while we still have the Nightshade confused. As I said, we will go to the club tonight and challenge the Nightshade for the city, Ashley said, waiting for the gasps. To her surprise, there were none. They stood resolute behind their leader. Ashley had wondered many times if she should put Taylor in charge, but he had made no move for the role. Taylor knew that Ashley knew the situation better than him. He would stand at her back along with the rest of them. Now she looked out at the group. These people were ready for anything. Her confidence grew. They would win the day. Ashley has led us to a new day, Nathan started, and no matter the reason we become what we are, we make a great statement to the world of vampires tonight. No longer do vampires need to live without honor, and at very least they will hear us, Nathan finished. Let our message be heard, Ashley added. Now let us get to the details. Ashley started. They spent the next hour fleshing out the plan. Ashley's plan was modified to fit in better ideas, and soon the whole group was clear on what to do, also strong and resolute in their goals. They got ready for the night, and an hour later they were ready to go to the club. They loaded into various vehicles and made their way to the club. The guards parted as they came, in clear awe of the power that came down the hallway. They made no challenge to stop them. One of the guards was there when Taylor had made his visit to the club. His breath caught in his throat. Just one of the powerful vampires had been confusing. To see a whole group of them was awe-inspiring. When they had seen Taylor the first time, they were astonished. Now the club went into a frenzy of conversation. They sat in their normal area and waited for the Nightshade to show up. I'm scared, Tricia said to Taylor. It'll be okay. We can beat the Nightshade, Taylor replied, comforting her. Oh, yeah, I know that. I'm afraid you're going to ask me to dance, Tricia said, smiling. Very funny, Taylor returned, smiling. Soon a powerful vampire walked up to Ashley. Even though he was not fully turned, his power echoed around the room. Well, Ashley. Looks like you guys have figured something out we don't know, he said. Hey, Byrne. Yeah, some things have come clear over the last weeks, Ashley replied. And what the hell are you doing here? You know the Nightshade have been called out 100 times by now, Byrne asked. We're not running from the Nightshade anymore, Ashley said and smiled. You and your friends are insane. They're gonna tear you all apart, Byrne stated. You mind enlightening the rest of us on how to do this before you get torn to shreds by the Nightshade? Byrne asked. Yeah, but it'll have to wait. The Nightshade just walked in, Ashley said. There was a group of 7 of them. They were led by a vampire they had all seen before. They had believed he was the leader of the Nightshade for a long time, but recent events had shown that to be incorrect. They looked around briefly, even though they had known where Ashley and her group were the second they entered the door. They walked over and stared straight at Ashley. What are you doing in our club? He boasted confidence, but it was not shared by the Nightshade with him. They looked shaken. This is not your club anymore, Ashley said. In fact, the Nightshade no longer runs this city as long as we are here, she spat back. Well, you won't be here after tonight. Are you really stupid enough to take on the Nightshade on your own? He questioned. Yes, I'd kill you where you stand, but I need you to go back and tell your master a message. At that, the 6 other Nightshade bared in, but the rest of Ashley's crew stood, and they quickly rethought their position. The main Nightshade snarled. What message? He asked, his eyes flaring with anger. He was not used to being outmatched in any situation, and it was not a feeling that he enjoyed. Ashley quickly looked back to the club. Every eye in the room was on the situation. "You tell him your time is over. Tonight we take back the city. Tell them that they have 2 hours. We will meet at the fighting grounds," Ashley said. "You will regret this," the Nightshade replied, and turned on his heel to deliver his message. They stayed at the club for a few more moments and then left. After they left, the club was alight with rumors. The only thing that was for sure is that every group of vampires would go to the fighting grounds to see what would happen. About 10 minutes after the group left, the club was nearly empty, as everyone was leaving to get to the fighting grounds, scouting out a good seat. The Nightshade had been ruthless to other groups, keeping their rule through an iron fist of control, and never showing any mercy. If Ashley's group was successful tonight, it would change the way vampires lived in LA. Ashley knew this and was starting to feel the pressure. Tricia drove. Ashley sat in front next to her. "Where are the fighting grounds?" Taylor asked from the back seat. "They are down on the beach. If a group of vamps has a problem with another group of vampires, they settle it there. But this is the first time anyone's challenged the Nightshade in a long time," Nathan explained. "Do we know how many will be there?" Taylor asked. "I would assume most of them. There must be close to 100, Nathan gulped. Taylor was a bit shocked by the number. However, he held it inside. He would stand with his friends till the end. "We can do this," Tricia said, locking eyes with Taylor in the rearview mirror. "I hope so," Ashley said, the pressure starting to get to her. "I hope I'm not leading my friends into a massacre," she added. Taylor and Tricia were both a bit taken back. They had never seen Ashley act like this. "You're doing the right thing," Taylor's voice came. "They must be stopped, and we will be the ones to stop them, and you know that," Taylor finished. "You're right," Ashley said and smiled at him. After another few moments of driving, they arrived at the grounds. The ocean crashed into the shore as they stood out on the burnt-out beach. They were not the first to arrive. Other groups were already there, including Byrne and his group. They all looked very curious at Ashley and the rest of them. The Nightshade were yet to make an appearance. As the time whittled away, more and more groups showed up until at least the entire club, plus many more, were there. Ashley jumped on the roof of the SUV they had come in. "Tonight is a new night for our kind," she said loud enough that everyone fell quiet. "The Nightshade do not have the whole story. As you can feel, we are not the monsters they make us out to be. They have propagated their ideas, making us that we'll always be weaker." She paused and looked over the crowd. "Tonight is the night we say," Ashley said, waving to her group. "You no longer control us, and we never fear you again." The crowd broke into a mighty roar of cheering, and Ashley climbed down. "We will stand with you," Byrne said as he and the rest of his group walked over. Ashley walked over to the rest of them. "No. If we fail, you will be the ones to pass on the knowledge," Ashley said. She pulled Byrne aside and gave him a quick overview of what they had found out. Byrne's eyes grew wide as he heard the reality of their history. After Ashley finished, he stood flabbergasted. "Wow," Byrne said. They spoke for a while longer. Taylor was the first to feel them coming, and he was about to say something. However, headlights started to stream into the parking lot. The Nightshade had arrived. In force. "If you need us, we are here," Byrne said and rejoined the spectators. They all stood nervously on the side as they watched the Nightshade take their stand on the beach. They poured out of the vehicles. Nathan's estimate had been low. Now, close to 200 Nightshades stood before them. Ashley's group stood greatly outnumbered, although they did not back down. "Your time is over," Ashley snarled at the Nightshade. "It is your time that runs short," the leader of the Nightshade replied. Taylor noted it was not the vampire he had fought. This was the same one from the club. He screamed in rage at the defiant group and cued the rest of the Nightshade, and they charged. Taylor started fighting. They flooded in at them. The more they put down, it seemed, the more came at them. Taylor stuck by Tricia, Nathan fought by Ashley, and there were 2 times in the battle where it looked like they would be overrun. However, they held their ground. The Nightshade lay all over, None completely dead, but out of the fight because their body would need some extended time to heal. Ashley finally squared off against the leader. "It's over," Ashley said. "It's only begun." He snarled and lunged at her, and they fought, but soon Ashley got the upper hand and forced the leader to his knees. "You are over," she said. She rotated his arms so his back was exposed. With a swift, hard kick, they heard his spine break. The leader fell to the ground. The spinal cord was severed, and he was unable to heal himself. He lay in the sand, gurgling. The cheers started from the side, but were soon quieted. More Nightshade came to the beach. There were only 20 of them. However, obviously they were the most powerful of the group, and with them the real leader stood. He looked directly at Taylor. "That was a nice display, but you know nothing of true power," he sneered. Ashley, drained from the first round, did not know what to do. Taylor strode forward. "I don't need to know anything about power to kick your ass," he said. Just then, Byrne came at his back. "They have won, Darius," he said. "Byrne, do not let your distorted sense of honor confuse you," Darius said. "There are nothing compared to the might of the Nightshade. We make the rules here," he retorted. "If you choose to fight, Darius, you fight my clan as well." "And mine," said another leader. "As well as us," said another. "This is not your fight," Taylor said to the other groups. Taylor stepped forward to Darius. "You and I. That's what it comes down to," Taylor said. "Fine. I will destroy you, and the rest of you will leave and never challenge the Nightshade again," Darius said. "No, you will be destroyed, and the Nightshade will never hold the city again," Taylor snapped back. They exploded into battle. The rest only backed up. Trisha held on to Nathan, desperately wanting to help Taylor. The fight was long, but Taylor finally turned the tables on Darius. He threw him off and tumbled into the sand about 10 feet from Taylor. He got up and started toward Taylor at great speed. Taylor dropped to a knee right as Darius reached him. Taylor's hand shot up into his chest, stopped in his tracks, stunned, great fear washing over his face. "Fuck off," Taylor said. Taylor pulled his hand out of his chest and firmly gripping Darius's heart, he threw it as hard as he could into the ocean. Darius dropped to the sand, dead. The heart was the one organ the vampire could not heal nor regrow. Darius's body lay on the ground, Taylor standing over him. Everyone looked at Taylor. "It is done," Taylor said. The crowd erupted into cheers. The Nightshade left as quickly as they could, taking Darius's body with them. As soon as they were gone, Taylor fell into the sand, exhausted. Trisha ran to him. "Are you all right?" she asked, tears flowing down her face. "Yeah," Taylor said. When he rose to his feet, the whole crowd exploded into cheers again. Ashley waved them to be quiet. "This fight is not over. It has only just begun. We must now all stand together to make sure the Nightshade never rise again." They gathered themselves and found that none of them had major injury. Ashley invited the leaders back to the mansion. During the same time, Nathan was inviting everyone to his house. They were all inundated with pats on the backs and congratulations. After a half an hour, they were able to break away. They loaded into vehicles and went back to Nathan's mansion. They were able to get inside for only about 5 minutes when a great amount of guests began to arrive. The party was big at Nathan's. In fact, it kept growing as the night wore on. They celebrated and talked. Trisha dragged Taylor around, introducing him to too many people for him to keep track of. All through the city, the tale of the battle spread. The Nightshade no longer held the city, and word spread quickly. The news started celebrations all over the city. Ashley spent a great deal of time with the other leaders when they first got back, explaining the true history and the truth about the bloodlust. When they finally emerged, they too joined the celebration. Many of the vampires came throughout the night. They were all in high spirits and hopeful for the future of their kind. The party went well on into the morning. Many people talked to Taylor, but the entire time he kept Trisha on his arm. The sun was already high in the sky when they finally went to bed. The party finally starting to slow down. They went into the room that they'd been staying in. They changed and got into bed. Trisha laid in his arms. She let out a great yawn. Taylor, I don't know how to thank you for everything. You don't have anything to thank me for, Taylor said. She smacked him on the chest. Don't make me kick your ass. Ow, I think I've had my fair share of ass kicking today, Taylor said. Me too, she agreed and kissed him deeply. They lay in each other's arms. Taylor listened to her breathe. He had been so afraid when she'd been taken. He had never felt this way about anyone before. Their eyes started to flutter into dreams. I love you, Trisha, Taylor said. I love you too, Trisha said, smiling. I was hoping you were going to say that soon, she said. First time I've said it, but I've felt it since the moment I saw you. And with that, they slipped off to sleep together. They slept soundly for hours. Nathan and Ashley shared a joint by the pool. Hell of a twist, Nathan said, smiling as he took the joint from Ashley. It still blows my mind, Ashley said. He showed up on Trisha's porch, and now the whole thing has changed, Ashley said, shaking her head. I don't know. I think there's a bigger power at work here. Well, I agree with you there, Ashley replied. They were more correct than either of them knew.